Are you ready?
Here we go. Starting now. Almost sideshow. Here we are.
Back to dancing again. We hear
with
the music.
The penultimate episode of our Barry sideshow. Getting ready to end this next week. Man, what a ride it's been. And now we know a little more about what that last half hour is going to have in store for us. Welcome in. I'm Terry. He's Adam. How's it going, Adam?
What a rush that last 30 minutes was. Really awesome. And really, real quick before, we didn't know what the wizard meant last week. A viewer actually told us what the wizard was on the comments section. It's a Black Sabbath song. That's the song they play during the Ravens entrance. That's the wizard. The wizard by Black Sabbath.
That makes that possibly one of the best episode titles of the entire show.
Yeah. Conveniently, we just mentioned Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne in like the last week's Daily Notes Live. So pretty funny.
All you could do last week was compliment the theme music for the Raven.
I was like, whoever did that music was awesome.
Whatever that song was, turned out it was Black Sabbath.
One of the Black Sabbath songs I don't know, apparently. And of course, I downloaded it, and it's a banger.
It's a banger. That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, thank you, whoever pointed that out.
I'll find it. It's a good comment.
We're not all knowing here. We're just, your typical Barry fans trying to figure out what is going on along with all of you.
Here we go. I pinned the comment to Lana Loxman. So thank you so much for that title update.
Thank you. And we're getting all sorts of comments that are correcting all the things we have no idea about, like what that title was. Was it actually a time jump? All that.
Why?
Fun stuff.
I know Hank actually did what he did to Cristobal.
Yep. Yeah. So thanks for the comments. Keep them coming. You can be listening to this on our regular Almost Sideways podcast feed. Yep. You can also be watching us on the YouTube channel, so you can get us all over the place. All right, we need to get into this because there's a lot to unpack in this episode. Season 4, Episode 7 is entitled A Nice Meal.
Mm-hmm. Also good title.
And that is a good title. I mean, just the if you blink, you're gonna miss it. So, all right. Anyways, here is a synopsis of what just happened. Barry is tripping. Jim Moss has him seeing all sorts of stuff and thinking he will see his family for the last time. Eventually, he sees Gene, where he apologizes and says the $250,000 was to try and make it right. The money was a detail Gene never told the cops, which Jim understands. So Gene, he is all for ending this movie until he hears Daniel Day-Lewis wants to play him and Mark Wahlberg wants to play Barry. He takes a meeting with Wahlberg only to find out it is all a setup and Jim and the cops are there who have decided they would spin their own version of the truth. Gene is the mastermind mixed up in Chechen drug deals. When Janice killed a Chechen and found drug money in his theater, he invited her to his cabin so Barry could kill her since he would do anything for his dear Mr. Kusanev. That's why when the body was found, he was with legendary Chechen assassin, the Raven. Totally not a fake name. Completely real and kind of badass. Speaking of Fuchs, he and his men fend off the Fuboks sent by Hank to kill them. When Hank tries to blow up his house, he misses, somehow survives, and decides to give Fuchs whatever he wants. And that's Barry. The only person Hank knows that might know something about where he is Gene. His men go to Gene's house, where they find Sally and John, because they flew into L.A. because Sally needed Barry. Instead, they are captured by Hank's men. The trap is set for Barry. Oh, back to Barry. He wakes up in Moss's garage all alone, cuts his hand getting loose and passes out. He wakes up to the sound of his ringtone, where Hank is calling, "Come or I will kill your family." All happening.
Nice. Oh my goodness.
Adam.
Want to skip to the end and just talk about what's happening next week?
No, we got to talk about this episode first. What'd you think of this one?
Ooh, and to quote the Regal quote, "It's all happening."
Yes, that is totally how we should phrase that quote. Not Penny Lane, but the Regal quote. Well done.
Well, that's a good point. Anyway, disregard. All right. Rewind that. Anyway, so this was a great episode, man. The time jump's actually not sucky anymore, apparently. I really like how everybody is a little more vicious, especially Hank. He's hiring people, but he also has his little quirks about him, which is awesome. We don't have a whole lot of Barry, but I see what I see happening is it's going to be two different branching off of storylines, I think. Only time will tell, but really liked kind of where our characters are beginning to line up for the last 30-minute episode next week. It's kind of bittersweet ending now. I'm kind of sad about it. It's probably gonna be an emotional one, depending on what happens, because everybody's coming together. So somebody's possibly gonna die. Well, we shall see. But it was a really solid episode with really some really good moments and some really strong, really nice meal, I should say.
Yeah, and it was a nice meal. It really was.
Right before the dessert, which is gonna be the finale.
Everything you see what we're building towards now, right? We're gonna have a showdown between Barry and Hank, Barry and Fuchs. I think that's one story. What's gonna happen with Gene is a whole nother side of it, and you gotta think Barry finds his way into that at some point.
Yeah, that's what I well, obviously Barry's in Moss's house, or was in Moss's house.
Yeah.
So it's like, will he go after him?
Trying to control his rage and anger, because he used to get angry all the time. But now, son, I've learned to control it. But has he really?
But Bill Burr told me it's not a sin if I let the dogs out.
Thank you. Good enough for me. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. I will say, I like I said, I see what they were doing now. The time jump is making a little more sense. With that said, I am still not happy with the fact that there are these like huge details that they are just leaving unexplained. How did Barry and Sally get out of the apartment originally? How did Gene get to wherever he was hiding for the last 8 years?
That money.
How did
probably something to do with it?
Well, yeah, he had the money, but how did Leo survive?
Mm-hmm.
Or this last episode, where did Moss come from? How did Moss know where Barry was? There are these little things that are just happening, and because they move on to so many more compelling things, you forget that they never explain these details. But I feel like you can't just leave these details alone and never explain them.
The devil is in the details.
Right before the time jump, you had Moss sitting outside the apartment, and Sally and Barry decide they're going to leave, and the next thing you see is 8 years later. You can't just do that. And then you never explained. I mean, it was pretty cool, pretty awesome how Jim just kind of popped out of nowhere. But after 8 years, why is Jim lurking outside his house? Has he been lurking this year for Bree? No. Explain something. Explain something. That's all you gotta do. Did I cut out there for a second?
Yeah, you did, but explain something came crystal clear.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Anyways, rant over.
Soapbox off the soapbox. But no, yeah, you bring up some great points though, because there are some of those little details that would be kind of nice. I think we do get. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we get some kind of resolution to some of them. It would make sense.
They're not. They have to leave them alone. They have a half hour to finish this up and explain everything that's about to happen.
They have two big storylines. Yeah,
it was like this was the last chance to explain something. Like if we were actually going to get a showdown between Moss and Barry instead of Moss just completely torturing him and breaking his will to live.
With a VR,
with a VR and some sort of hallucinogen, I'm guessing that he was hooked up to because he had an IV hooked up to him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But if we had actually gotten a showdown, and it would have taken just like 10 seconds of, I've been watching you for 8 years or something like that. I've been waiting for you to do something like this.
I was that guy with the mustache at the diner.
Well, how did you never catch me before? I fell asleep at the wheel. Or I don't know. Something. What's all we needed? We just needed 30 seconds of that and been like, oh, we can tie it all together now. Even if it's a bad explanation, at least it's something. You can't just leave it. Anyways. But yeah, this was the last chance. They didn't do it. It's not going to be explained. We just got to move on. I got to move on. Obviously, I haven't yet.
Do you think the episode's going to be 30 minutes?
I mean, a couple of them have been closer to 35. This one was right around 30. I would be surprised if they broke that streak now, because there's something to the rhythm of these half-hour episodes that they've really gotten into, and I would be surprised if they tried to do something different with the very last episode. But, I mean, there are many surprises that they come up with, so.
That is true.
All right, well, let's get into some of our categories here as we continue to talk about what's going on. Best scene.
Let's put some names in a hat and just draw one. I think that's what we could do here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to kick this off. Let's talk about Gene getting tricked. I think that the whole setup to that is kind of perfect. You play right into his weakness of his character weakness, where he can't help having the attention drawn to himself, so that way he can let his guard down for a little bit and not think about where this could be going. And having that reveal in the hotel with Mark Wahlberg, that was I was like, are they really gonna have Mark Wahlberg show up in this episode? What is this, Entourage? Like it was, but yeah, I was glad that it was like Moss and his lawyer, and there's Leo there, and yeah. And what was that guy's name? Was it Brad? Was his name? That acting student?
Yeah.
I think it's
Matt
also
Iserson.
just, yeah. I think it's also plays into Gene's psyche, where he really is egotistical, where he won't remember you unless you actually are like stealing the spotlight type of thing. If you're a minor player, like we have to bring up Jermaine. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I had two written down. That was one of them. Because you see, there's some good things and bad things about that. One, you see that he's getting played. You see that Moss has been doing this to him. However, the bad thing about that scene is you realize this whole time, like the whole thing about this is Moss is smarter than your average cop. And so
the cops have been set up to be stupid the whole entire show,
the whole
time.
It's not. But he has always been smarter than the average cop. He's always been on top of it. He always knows what's going on more than anybody. So now he's going to turn on everything and be like, oh no, this Raven guy is completely real. And Gene is the mastermind of the whole thing. This doesn't make any sense. And it's another one of those like what are we doing? Like they tried to say Ryan Madison was the mastermind of the whole thing at one point. It's just the latest thing where you look at them and you go, ugh. But he was the one that never saw it sideways, and now he is.
So the $250,000 that came from where? The money that they were talking about came from where?
It was the money Barry like left on the table. Like there was that one episode last season where Barry showed up at his house, left a duffel bag full of money, and said, "This is for you.
Where did
This is gonna
he
make
get?
things right." And that was, I'm trying to remember. It had something to do with one of the jobs that he had done, or oh man, I wish I remember where it came from off the top of my head.
Because
But it was something he had done.
Because they play it off like the money that there was money left in the acting class too that would tie.
Well, right. You remember how that whole thing went down? That was back at the first season.
Yeah, with the Yojimbo.
When
like that,
yeah, when they raided the Colombian stash house, and Taylor insisted that Barry take the money and stashed it in the ceiling.
So that's why they were putting those two different scenarios there, so they weren't doing the other Barry connection. So that's how. But then that makes kind of Janice, kind of not putting all the pieces together too. If they were connecting the money in the acting school, that was the money that Barry gave Gene with the connection, because they mentioned the acting school,
right?
The money that was there, and they found that with Janice. I don't know. There's some stuff that you have to gloss over, I think, too, some details. But
no, I think the story they came up with is believable. Like of all the tales they've spun,
it'd be hard for them to get out of it.
This is probably the most believable one. At the same time, it doesn't take much to realize it's not true. And yeah, so that's one little thing. All right, back to best scene. That was one I had written down. The other one I had written down was Sally on Gene's front porch. Where she's going, like she's going through, her son's freaking out, and there are a couple moments that are just amazing, that are like the best acting of the episode. John's asking a lot of questions, like, so what are we gonna do? Well, Gene's gonna show up, and your dad's gonna show up, and then they're going to talk, and then he's like, and then what? And she goes, and then we'll keep doing what we're doing. And she stops herself because she is just like horrified by the thought that life will go on the way it has been going on. And she realizes she can't do this anymore. And that's when she looks over and sees the cop and walks up and says, I want to turn myself in. But something's up with the cop. Like, yeah, I don't know what was going on there.
It kind of had to be like she's seeing that, because that would make sense why there was nothing about the guy in black in the last episode either.
I mean, some shady figure had just walked up to that cop, so maybe he had, just gotten some drugs and was getting high, or maybe the Chechens had just come up and drugged him so he would go away. Who knows? But something weird's going on there. But just that idea that the thought of life continuing the way it has been for the last 8 years would drive her to want to turn herself in. Wow, what it happens with Sally in this last episode. I mean, now she's, a hostage and bait for Barry, but where her story ends is going to be fascinating, especially after that scene. And so I thought that scene was just outstanding.
Yeah, I think that I'm kind of mixed. That's the one storyline that's always like, it's kind of mixed for me right now of the time jump, because it's it's just there's so much about that is definitely trauma based, and having it like it feels like they don't give it as much time as other characters on the show, so it's really kind of hard to see that full play out. But I think something big is gonna happen with her in the season finale.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I can see that.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's like I feel like I really was liking Sally this last season, and then all of a sudden the time jump happened, and then I'm like, I feel like they're not giving her a whole lot to do, and it's like I want to know more about what she's been through as well, and that's why that's kind of a downfall of a 30-minute episode, because you can't do that.
We're feeling the 30 minutes. The fact that they decided midway of the last season to do this time jump. I mean, I wish there were a 5th season. And not that we need more, but I wish there were a 5th season so they could have extended the first half of season 3, the first half of season 4 into its own season, and all the prison and the escape and all that stuff, and then make this whole storyline its own season. Because I feel like you said, there's enough there to be able to fill the whole thing out. The one thing I will say is Sarah Goldberg is acting her ass off in this. And one of the things that I'm okay with her not getting a whole lot of time is every time she is on screen, she is making the most of it more than anybody else. So I don't mind her not having a ton of time. Okay. Let's get into the more fun stuff here. The Fuchs bag. Who is the Fuchs bag of this episode, Adam?
Gene. I think Gene is it, because he is totally want to preserve Janice's memory and her love, and he's adamant about it, and got recognition on Twitter as well, or Facebook, whatever platform that is. And then all of a sudden you just throw those 3 letters out there, DDL. And it's like, oh, for me, my left foot, great pull, by the way.
That's a deep cut, but okay.
A deep cut, very deep cut.
Yeah, no, I had 2 written down. That was one of them. Because you get the idea that his ego will never go away, and it's always going to be the basis of everything. The other one I had written down, I mean, Gene's the obvious one. The other one I had written down is Tony Danza, because if Gene can think that Tony Danza would steep low enough to pull this out on him, that Daniel Day-Lewis wants to play him in a movie, then Tony Danza's got to be quite the douchebag.
It's a good call, though.
Yeah,
kind of like it. Yeah, I really loved him in Philadelphia. Field goal kicking Philadelphia phenomenon.
But that it was a good one. It was a good one.
It was a fun one. Anyway,
Stickman.
What's that guy's name?
I don't know. I've got him down as Fubak number 4.
Yeah, that's a great call. But Hank's even in death, he's hot.
Even in death, he is an absolute fox.
Yeah, fox. Yeah. Just like you are. Apparently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. But Fubak, 4 ultimate badass killers. That's pretty great. And then the one of my other favorite scenes. It's a head. We don't know that. It's a head.
It's a head.
Why am I still opening the boxes?
Yeah. Why am I still opening them? Oh, it's great. I was like, right when I saw it and you see the red 10, I was like, what's in the box? You can't help but think of Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah.
In 7. It's a classic movie, classic line. Same kind of setup and premise to it. It was delivered. It's great. And then I loved, and the best part is too, it cuts to that scene with the Raven and all his cronies or whatever, and then you got the 2 women are like, yeah, that was traumatizing essentially.
Yeah.
It's a great setup.
Okay. Hey, that's John Hamm, Best New Face Award. I'll go first. Nate Cordry as Matt Iserson / Brad. I'm watching this and I'm like, I recognize him. I've seen him somewhere. first, I thought it was Bob from Top Gun Maverick, but it's not. He's in the Apple TV Plus show For All Mankind, which I've watched some of. I haven't watched all of it, but he's in that. And so when I had to look it up, and that's the guy.
Good.
But Nate Cordry, this has to be Rob Corddry's kid, right?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. So
good pull, Rocket Man. That's great. I didn't have any. I know I saw some faces that were familiar, but we've already said them
right.
a couple times. I'm assuming one of those like the Ravens flock. It's a Ravens flock. It's a
well done. Well done.
A good one. It reminded me of there's a wrestler named the Raven or Raven back in like the 90s. I remember seeing he had
there was
Ravens flock. But that's good. Kind of deja vu there. But that one of those guys has to be like in something that we've seen. I would imagine.
Oh, probably.
So, what I will say is, the name Daniel Day-Lewis was nice to hear in this episode.
Yes. And can we just point out that Mark Wahlberg is a horrible choice to play Barry? I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis to play Gene, I can get that behind that. But Wahlberg as Barry, I don't know.
I picture more of a he's Daniel Radcliffe's too young. Never mind. But if they were doing a younger
Bill Hader,
you cast Bill Hader as because that's actually pretty funny. That's actually good. I like that one.
Let's just go full meta there.
Stefan,
Jermaine, favorite minor character.
They're not going to show him anymore, are they?
I think we're not going to see Jermaine anymore. I think the one time we got to see him was when he saw the vision of the acting class in the prison yard. But
I liked the acting student that Gene Everett Brad. Yeah, he didn't recognize him. Like, yeah, I appeared in your Shakespeare play.
Was it The Merry Wives of Windsor?
Yeah, The Merry Wives of Windsor, and they just kind of like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. I had Fuchs's family down because that scene where they're just sitting there staring at them, and he's sitting there with his whole flock. And they're just like, yeah, you already said that. Yeah, it doesn't make it any better, does it? And then they start going through all the scenario, and they're just staring, and it's like those two were perfect in that moment, just perfect.
Really good war in there.
All right.
It kind of goes into like a very relatable moment because we kind of talked about it on the last main podcast when we talked about Fast and the Furious. Is that clearly when you describe the Fast and the Furious movies, you can remember like maybe one of them, but the rest of the movies, they all blend together.
I totally had that written down too as a very relatable moment, not being able to tell the difference between the Fast and the Furious movies.
I knew which one had the plane in it because it's the one. That's 6. That's the one. Spoiler alert: Godot dies in that one. So, yeah. But anyway, never mind. Never mind.
Never mind. Never mind. Leave it there. Let it
play. All
right. So I've got one other very relatable, and it is getting frustrated when people unnecessarily abbreviate. When will it be done? EOD. What does that mean? End of day. Well, then just say end of day. I mean, why do you have to abbreviate that? Yeah, that. Why does everything have to be abbreviated? This is my old man soapbox here, but just say the words.
I like it. That's a good couple. My actual very relatable moment is I wake up at like 3 a.m. to go to work, and you're trying at that time. No one's awake, so you're trying to be quiet. And sometimes it doesn't work out as quiet. You're not as quiet as you think you are. And Barry trying to sneak around the house. He's like, oh, crap. Oh, dang it. He's trying to be quiet. And he's definitely not that quiet.
When no one's actually there.
Yeah, that's the best part. He just thinks somebody's watching TV. Yeah.
That's a good one, too.
Another low-key minor character is the lady randomly that Noah Hank's staying at her house.
Okay. Another random detail that's left out. How does Hank survive?
Yeah, that's a good point.
He should. I mean, the one thing I can think of with that is Fuchs needs Hank alive, so
There
that
was a deal made.
because there's the deal. It's like, no, you're not backing out on our deal. Stop attacking us and actually honor your deal, and we'll be fine. So that's got to be the only reason he survives. But
I think that can easily be revealed or at least spoken in the next episode.
yeah, but it still it was like, wait, what? What? Because I wrote in the notes, yeah, Hank's dead, and then the next scene he pops up, all dirty. I'm like, what? What? No, that's not how that worked. Oh, one other going back to best new face, I think would probably work for this. Um, and this is more me than anything, because I can pick out a voice and I can pick out music. Barry's ringtone. Yeah, that's David Crowder, who I love. David Crowder's great, but Christian worship artist.
Yeah.
So of course,
Yep.
Barry's got Crowder as his ringtone when he's listening to all his pastoral podcasts and all that stuff. But I hear the song, I'm like, wait a sec. And I even wrote in my notes, Crowder's his ringtone? I mean,
because he's repented.
Yeah, good choice, but I mean, his music is awesome. But that was just a funny one.
Like, yeah, good choice. Like right up there with Third Day and stuff like that. You know, that would have been be good choices for that kind of. Newsboys would be a fun one.
I've met David Crowder actually.
Oh, there we go. That would be that definitely is the minor character of the episode. Then David Crowder.
Yes.
Any relation? Yeah.
Yeah, best new face. David Crowder's music.
There
all right. LVP, MVP, and then we'll break down what we think's gonna happen in this last episode. You go LVP, MVP.
Having one missile, LVP.
Yeah, my LVP is Val, because he's the one that decided that he was only going to order one missile because we're watching the budget. He goes, I'm talking about office supplies, not rockets where we're going to blow up a house. Like, oh,
that scene actually is low key one of the better scenes in the movie. How it's all at one take, and the car drives by, they come out with the rocket. The rocket just goes, and then also those guys come down shooting, and they drive away. The one take shot in this movie
only brings one rocket. You thought we were gonna get this right on the first try?
The only downside is I find it hard to believe that Fuchs ran down there not out of breath, and from his house and down there not being out of breath. I think that is a little unbelievable, but whatever. He is the Raven. Maybe he flew, but whatever.
Yeah. So we were on the same page with our LVP, MVP.
The Raven.
Yeah, I have Fuchs written down.
Yeah,
he is the only one that performs this episode flawlessly.
Yeah.
Like everyone else, you go, what are you doing? At multiple times with some of them. But Fuchs nails everything.
He's surviving the episode. He's this season. He's not dying.
The Fubox come after him. He takes them all out. I mean, he's on the top of his game right now. But, well, all right. Well, let's talk about this then. What's going to happen? Who lives? Who dies? And who tells their story? That's Hamilton. Sorry. Continue.
Alexander Hamilton. All right. That's who it is, right?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Anyway. What was I saying? So who's living? I have Gene, but probably in prison. He's probably going to prison. I think that no Hank is dead.
I think that has to happen.
That has to happen now. And I would not be surprised. Sally's the dark horse. What's going to happen with her? She also dies with Barry, and John goes to Fuchs.
Oh.
Because they're all in the same place.
Wow. All right.
A lot of death, though. A lot of death, a lot of moving parts. A lot of what have yous.
Barry kills Hank.
Okay.
I think the only way Fuchs goes down is by the hand of Barry. Like, that's the one thing that can go wrong. So I think Barry kills Hank, and then Barry kills Fuchs.
Okay.
I think then Barry tries to go save Gene from going to prison. And is gunned down or something along those lines. I don't think Sally survives. I'm going to say she kills herself.
Oh, yeah. That's a call.
And Barry rides off into the sunset with John in some way. But that's his redemption, is that he then raises his son the right way.
I like that. I can dig that. With feral karate girl.
Oh, where is she?
The mongoose.
The feral mongoose. Oh, wouldn't that be a callback to she just all of a sudden comes up and bites off Fuchs's face again?
Oh my god. I don't know why I thought that. I was like, the mongoose and the John. Put them together. Make it happen.
Oh man.
She's just like and then they show a bunch of flashbacks of her, and she's in every frame of the show. You don't realize that she's in the background of every frame. Just watch biding
like
her
a Tyler
time.
Durden thing at the start of Fight Club. That she's just flashing at the back in the backdrop of every frame.
Oh, did we just come up with a great idea? Yeah,
I think we did.
It's great.
Or yeah, the key to the episode, I think that it ends with John going off with someone, right? It has to end that way.
The only person I would be upset if he went with somebody is either Child Protective Services or Moss. I think that would be the kind of disappointing if they went.
I could see him ending up with Barry. I could see him ending up with. You said Fuchs. I don't necessarily. I know that would make sense. I could see him ending up with Gene, Leo,
Tony Danza,
Rip Torn.
That'd be kind of hard, but
that'd be kind of. It would be. Yeah. There are some options there, but I think that's going to be, that's going to be the bow that ties it all up, is who walks off in the sunset with the kid. And if it doesn't, man, it goes on to a whole new level then.
All right, so here we go. Before the next week's episode, when do you usually watch it? You watch it the day we record, correct?
I watch it the day we record.
All right, so next Wednesday, before you watch it, you text me who do you think is dying and who's living, and I'll do the same to you, and we'll see how accurate it plays out.
Okay. All right. And for all of you guys listening or watching,
comment section,
do the same. Comment, let us know. Find us on Twitter, leave us a comment there, something. Who lives, who dies, who walks off in the sunset with John? Does John survive? I mean, that would be
that would be dark.
That would be dark. That's what I'm saying. If we go a different direction, that could be it. But who lives, who dies? Where does this all go? Let us know what you think is going to happen. Special. Do we finally get, an appearance by Jermaine's comedy album in the final episode? Yeah. Does Mark Paul Gosselaar pop back up in what was it? Something Justice?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many great. Joe Mantegna, does he pop back up?
One, yeah, Joe Mantegna.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great ones. There's some great ones out there, but yeah.
Elsie Fisher.
Well, she's 8 years older now, though. I mean, that would be hard to pass off when you're that young and it's 8 years.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's a little hard to do. Anyways, let us know what you think is the ending, how you think it's going to go. This has been a blast. we've only got one more of these to go. Next time, we will be wrapping up the series finale. We'll be wrapping up this season. We'll be wrapping up the entire show. Talking about all our categories of the whole show. So we're going to be doing series ending of all of our categories we've been doing all throughout. If you haven't been keeping up with us, go back and listen. Check out our other sideshow episodes leading up to this. I'm getting goosebumps. This is going to be fun. Final episode's coming up, and I can't wait. Any last words, Adam?
As Noah Hank would say, it's Naz. Oh, wait, that's somebody else. I'll work on it this week, I promise.
Something I'm going to need you to work on before next season.
Okay, Tom Hanks, calm down. Jimmy Dugan. I know your reference.
There you go. There we go. All right. Well, with that, we're going to say so long. Be watching Barry. Be listening in. Thank you for joining us once again. Until next time, high five.
I'm going to miss doing that.
I know.
But then we'll say, I'm the one who knocks.
And Fuchs never got his hot tub.
Those bastards.
Fuchs just say hot tub.
Dude, that would be an awesome callback if they show him back again. That would be awesome.